Good morning, everybody. Today we are going to discuss about the TCP time management as well as congestion control. How do you do at transport layer? So these are the two topics we are going to cover. So the first topic, how do you manage the timers in the level of TCP process? So when you take TCP timers, so these are all classified into four. First one is the retransmission timer. Second one is the persistence timer. Third one is the keep alive timer. Fourth one is the time wait timer. So why do you need these timers? Basically, an application request transportation of data from one place to other place. Then, when you are going to offer reliable connection oriented service, then TCP is initiated at the level of transport. So when you initiate your service to the bus, nothing but application layer, so you have to give reliable, effective service to the bus. So for that reason, we are using all these timers so that we can provide better service. So that is the basic idea of all these timers. So we'll see one by one. Basically, the name itself is the indication retransmission timer. When will you retransmit? Suppose you have forwarded segment 1. Suppose you have not received acknowledgement. Then the question arises, when will you retransmit? So you need some procedure or you need a timer. Whenever you submit a segment 1 for transmission, immediately you have to switch on retransmission timer also at sender. Once you fix this retransmission timer here, it starts counting the things. Once the timer finishing the total time slot, then you are going to retransmit. But on what basis will you fix this time? So you need some mathematical justification for this one. For this, the formulas, if you take the first discussion, so this is smooth round trip time RTT, smooth round trip time. Basically, round trip time is from one place to other place, that place to this place we call round trip time. Suppose Hyderabad to Vijayawada, you have to go to Hyderabad to Vijayawada, then Vijayawada to Hyderabad, then we say round trip time. So this round trip time, on what basis will you calculate? So for that, the formula smooth round trip time, this is the what you call is the mu value, and this is the alpha smoothing factor. Generally we consider 7 by 8. Smooth round trip time of old value, previous whatever the measured value, that value, plus 1 minus alpha smoothing factor into R. This R indicates how long acknowledgement took. So based on this acknowledgement time and total round trip time, we are going to decide round trip time mu, that is nothing but smooth round trip time mu value. Once you get this mu value of smooth round trip time, we are going to fix this timeout time with the formula 2 multiplied smooth round trip time. So this is the retransmission timer. We are fixing retransmission timeout as 2 multiplied by smooth round trip time. Nothing but suppose when you come to the postal service, suppose If you want to transmit a letter from Hyderabad to Vijayawada, generally it takes 1 day. And you want to receive acknowledgement to Vijayawada to Hyderabad, it takes 1 day, so 2 days. But generally, when you want to retransmit the thing, we are not fixing as 2 days. We are giving some buffer space also. Suppose 2 into 2 you are doing. So 4 days you are waiting for this one. Any delay also you are taking care when you are fixing the retransmission. So 4 days, if you keep within the 4 days you have not received anything acknowledgement from other end, then you can retransmit the same letter once again. So that is the meaning of retransmission timeout is equal to 2 multiplied by smooth round trip time. So based on this formula, we can retransmit. Later, Jacobson proposed a different formula where he has taken round trip time variation. Instead of taking round trip time, he has taken round trip time variation. Case to case, how much is the variation he has taken? He has calculated the new variation based on the old variation. This is the RTT variation old multiplied by some beta constant. So the typical value of beta after experimentation they fixed as 3 by 4, where earlier alpha is fixed 7 by 8. The same multiplied with round trip time variation plus 1 minus beta. This is the same, that is the smooth round trip time minus r. R is the indication of how long acknowledgement took. So based on this, you are computing the new round trip time variation. So once you compute new round trip time variation, we are multiplying with this one with 4. This variation we are multiplying with 4 and we are adding the whatever the previous, that is a smooth round trip time, and you are getting a RTO, that is the retransmission timeout. So this is somewhat different from the previous one. Previous one we have taken smooth round trip time and we have calculated retransmission timeout, whereas second case we have taken even variation also into consideration. So based on that we have fixed the retransmission timeout period. So this is the first timer retransmission time. Second timer is the persistence timer. It is designed to prevent the following deadlock. So when a situation arises, deadlock condition, then we are going to resolve that one by using the persistence time. The receiver sends an acknowledgement with a window size of 0, telling the sender to wait. So already in the flow management we have seen, when the complete receiver window is full, we are announcing window size of 0. After a while application reads some space, then you are announcing some window size, suppose 2k. That is missing. Initially you have sent window size of 0, that is reached sender. Now after a while you have updated your window, that is the 2k you have announced, but it has not reached the sender location. Then receiver point of view already communicated, but sender point of view you have not received. How long will you wait like that? Then that is the case, we work out with the persistence time. So after some time, if you are not able to get information from the receiver, then after the end of this persistence timer, then once again you are putting a request to the receiver to send the window update. So in that case we use persistence timer. So persistence timer is used to know the receiver window update. Now coming to the third timer, this is called keep alive time. Suppose a server is there, client is there. Client establish a connection with the server. He has done some process. After a while, he has not terminated the connection, but he is not doing any activity now. So that is the situation when a connection is ideal for a long time, then keep alive timer may go off at server location so that automatically this connection will be terminated. Before going to termination, it reconfirms the client whether it is there or not. So if there is no response, automatically this connection is terminated. So instead of keeping ideal connection with the server, we can terminate that connection with the help of keep alive time. Why? Because server is very important. You cannot keep a connection so long. That is the third time. Fourth timer, the last timer used on each TCP connection is time wait state. This is used while closing. Suppose this is the host, this is another host. You have established a connection. You have established a connection now. Already connection is there. Now your conversation is over. So host 1 feels that conversation is over. If you terminate connection immediately, suppose host B wants to communicate to host A, then what will happen? So for that reason, even though host A point of view communication is over, we are not terminating the connection immediately. So we are waiting twice the maximum you take that lifetime of the segment, nothing but a packet, a total time here. Whatever the packet taking the time you take, so we are waiting twice for that one. Nothing but suppose packet is taking T, we are waiting 2T before closing connection at the host, this host. So this is used when you want to close the connection. So your time wait state is used when you want to close the connection. We are not abruptly closing the connection. We are waiting twice the packet time. After that, automatically we are terminating the connection. So these are the 4 timers are used for better working of TCP. Now coming to the next topic, TCP congestion control. How do you control the congestion in TCP? Basically, if you see these 2 diagrams, the first diagram if you see, network capacity is high, receiver capacity is low. Second one, network capacity is low, receiver capacity is high. In both the cases, congestion can happen. Why? Because even though network capacity is high, but you are unable to handle this one. Even though you are able to handle, but network capacity is low. Both the cases, you can feel, you can face congestion. Congestion is nothing but too many things available in the network. Network cannot handle situation. But this is the related to TCP. Already we have seen in the network layer, that is congestion control, that is at the level of network layer. So too many packets present in the network, it degrades the performance of the network. Here we are talking about the transport layer. So this is the TCP congestion. Then how do you control congestion here? So initially when you are sending data, submit data exponentially. This is the thing, you are submitting data exponentially. After that, you are submitting data linear like this. Suppose at this junction congestion happened. At what point? At this congestion window, kilobytes, 40 kilobytes, you faced congestion. Then what you have to do? When it happened at 40, then do division with 2, 40 becomes 20. Then your new threshold will be at 20. This is the new threshold at 20. So up to this, you can increase data exponentially. After that, you have to increase linearly. So once congestion occurred, you are reducing your data in a rapid way. This one, you are not submitting data now. Then only you can handle this congestion. Earlier threshold was 32 because congestion happened at 64. Now in this situation congestion happened at 40. Now threshold is 40 divided by 2. It is 20. So up to the threshold you are increasing data exponentially. There onwards you are increasing data linearly. Then once congestion happened, you are reducing the data in a rapid rate. So like this we implement TCP congestion control. Technically if you see, this is called after threshold we are increasing this linearly. So what do you mean this is slowly we are increasing? So this is nothing but additive increase, what you say. This is nothing but additive increase. So additive increase, whereas congestion happened you are decreasing in a rapid way, that is multiplicative decrease. So you can follow this type of algorithm: additive increase, multiplicative decrease. So this is called AIMD, additive increase, multiplicative decrease. So you can avoid TCP congestion. So this is the procedure we follow to avoid congestion at the level of TCP. So basically initially we start exponentially. Whenever congestion happen, then your new threshold becomes half of that one. Suppose congestion happened at 40, half of that one 20. From this point, you are increasing the data in an additive manner, additive increase. Once again congestion happened, you are decreasing the data like this. So this is the multiplicative decrease. Immediately you are decreasing so that you can control the congestion happening at level of TCP. So thank you for your understanding. I hope we will discuss the application layer in the next class. Thank you for your attention.